6:40 in the morning as we look at the beautiful Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. 9:40 here on the East Coast. Back to the major story we've been following this morning out of Wisconsin, where for the first time in 15 years, the state's Supreme Court will have a liberal majority. NBC News can project that Milwaukee County Judge Janet Protasewicz has defeated former state Supreme Court Justice Dan Kelly. And joining us now, national political correspondent Steve Kornacki. He is over at the big board. Steve, good morning. Boy, big implications here for policy and perhaps for the future of the vote in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, a lot of hot button issues in Wisconsin that obviously touch on national hot button issues that the Supreme Court may be tasked in that state with deciding. That's why these Supreme Court races in Wisconsin have become such major deals over the last 15 years. This is the most expensive by far state judicial election in history. It culminates, as you say, not officially a Democrat-Republican race, but basically a Democratic-aligned candidate, a Republican-aligned candidate, the Democratic-aligned candidate, Janet Protasewicz, winning this thing basically by double digits. Wisconsin, obviously, is a state a little bit more than a year from now. We're going to be watching very closely in the 2024 presidential election. And if you start trying to map that out right now, it's hard to find a Republican victory formula in 2024 that does not include winning Wisconsin. So with that in mind, take a look at some of the patterns and trends that stand out from this map last night. One has to do with the suburban counties immediately outside of Milwaukee. They call them the WOW counties. It's Washington, it's Ozaukee, it's Washington. Now, these are still, as you can see on your screen, these are red counties. We've been talking nationally about suburban counties shifting away from the Republican Party, especially the Trump Republican Party. And in two of these three counties, that has been the story. Republicans are still winning them, but take a look at how the trend has been moving against Republicans. By the way, nearly 15% of all the votes statewide come out of these three counties. I'm going to show you Ozaukee County last night. This is, again, traditionally Republican, big suburban county. The Republican-aligned candidate wins it, but that's a margin of about 4.5 points there for Dan Kelly in Ozaukee County. Take a look at how this has moved in recent years. Donald Trump won here by 12 in 2020. Donald Trump won here by 19 in 2016. And if you go back just a decade, Mitt Romney was winning this thing almost 2-1 over Barack Obama. That's the kind of plurality Republicans used to count on out of a county like Ozaukee. They barely carry it in this race last night. It wasn't just there. Waukesha, this by far the biggest of those three WOW counties I'm talking about. Again, 16 points there for Kelly, but just rewind, go back in time a little bit here and see how these numbers have eroded for Republicans. Look at that. Barack Obama barely scraped 30% here in 2012. And again, last night, Kelly winning it. But this is not a traditional Republican victory margin. So those suburbs outside Milwaukee, they continue to move away from the Republican Party. Major problem for the Republican Party in Wisconsin. Another area of concern for Republicans. Right here, you see these three counties. This is Brown County, Outagamie County. That's where Appleton is. This is Winnebago County, where Oshkosh is. All three of these are counties that Donald Trump actually carried in the 2020 presidential election. And then last night, you could see Protasewicz, the Democratic-aligned candidate, actually pulled out victories in all of them. And then the final note, the biggest, most liberal, if you combine those things, size and liberalism, I would say the largest combination of size and liberalism in the state is Dane County, University of Wisconsin. It's where Madison is. And Democrats just continue. This is a decade or two story here to squeeze more and more votes out of Dane County. And you look at it last night, Protasewicz gets nearly 200,000 votes out of this county, 82% of the vote. That is, believe it or not, an improvement of more than 6 points over what Joe Biden got here in 2020. And look at this, 194,000 votes for the Democratic-aligned candidate in Dane. You go to Milwaukee, which almost always produces the most Democratic votes in the state by far. Dane County last night produced more votes for the Democratic-aligned candidate than Milwaukee County. That's a big, it used to be almost 2-1 in Milwaukee's favor. So again, these are big changes in Wisconsin.